runs through the largest continuum of Atlantic rainforests on the planet. And let's say you get there and you decide to walk a little bit and explore the place when you suddenly see an avatar that represents this river. An avatar that is powered by AI and that you can talk to. So this is exactly what we're doing for the Rio Sagrado or Sacred River here in Brazil. We've designed and have been co-creating an avatar for the river with a physical sculpture that you can see here. And this avatar, it's on its alpha version. And as you can see from this screen, you can talk to it via WhatsApp thanks to an amazing integration from the service Retune, which is currently hosting this alpha version. But now we are moving to the beta version, which includes a embedded system into the sculpture itself with a few extra features, which I want to explain in this design briefing for such agents. So the system that we are looking for in terms of the beta version of the avatar is explained here in this diagram, where we have this legend starting with some infra or core components of this AI application, some functions that it needs to execute, and some data sources that it will engage with. So let's talk a little bit about the infra components. So we're thinking about the kinds of data as infrastructural components for this avatar. And so we have numerical data coming from sensors connected to the avatar. So the idea is that these avatars are connected to real-time remote sensory data, and by doing so, they will be engaging or accessing numerical sensory data from the local weather through local sensors, as well as the water physiology itself, so sensors deployed on the water. And all of these data sources are feeding a MySQL data bank, and this is ready. So this is a module we already have ready. But we will also be ideally working with sensory data from the local biodiversity, as well as larger weather stations, which will require custom data bank integrations, I imagine via Python or API calls. So that's one core component. And another core component is text human-generated data. So these will come from the scientific literature around the river, both about the biodiversity as well as the watershed geomorphology. But also, all of this work is being done in the context of the rights of nature movement, which seeks the recognition of non-human entities as entities worthy of legal rights. So we also want some scientific literature from this source. Other human text data include the work done towards the creation of an identity for this avatar, for these characters. So we have developed a full guide and process for the creation of non-human characters, which generates an output in text, sort of describing what is this character, its personality traits, so on and so forth. We also are considering news as a human text data from politics, local culture, so on and so forth. So things that we will want the avatar to have access to. So with these core components, these two core components, we have some functions we would want them to execute. So for the numerical sensor data, we would want this agent, right, as another core component or infrastructure component here. We would want this agent to find, be able to find patterns in the numerical sensory data, ideally, as well as write reports, both from the numerical sensory data and the text human data. And of course, especially in regards to the text human data, we want them to be able to access and update, remember this information and incorporate and impersonate it as an agent. And the agent itself, as in sort of like the LLM, we wanted to impersonate the avatar based on the text human data, the numerical sensory data, and interact with the public. And this interaction will happen via written platforms like the WhatsApp integration, but also and mainly through a voice-based installation in the physical sculpture that I've talked about. And for that kind of interaction, we will have another core element or another kind of data, which is spoken human data. And this will include updates on the existing data. This will include also news as a piece of update. But this will also include personal emotional accounts of the users interacting with the avatar and with the river itself, as well as feedback on the experience of talking to this entity. And again, we want the agent to access and update and remember from this data source, as well as incorporate it a long time, closing a loop here. And finally, I will mention this very briefly. We want this agent to be able to engage with API requests for another module that is part of this work that relates to token economics around smart contracts, in which the avatar or the agent will be able to engage into blockchain, enable contracts with the surrounding community towards the benefit of the river. So these are the ideal scenarios and wishes for these kinds of entities. And again, we're talking about the Sacred River avatar here as a first use case, but ideally we're seeking a kind of model or a kind of solution that can be further adapted or forked for the creation of other similar avatars. And in terms of the technology, we are considering, or we are doing a lot of research around the use of LangChain for the creation of such agents, of such avatars, as well as Llama Index as another framework that can even be connected to LangChain, and semantic kernel. So these orchestrators are the current horizons we have for the development of this technology, and we are actively looking for developers who can deliver solutions as we've briefed them in these technologies, mainly because we would be able to follow along and then further develop on top of these frameworks. But we are also open to other approaches towards the solutions. So yeah, if you feel like this is a task you can take and help us deliver a MVP incorporating these elements here, not so much the token economics of now, but at least this part of the diagram, if that's something you can do, please let's talk and get this done. Thank you very much.